Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Rancho and Stilettos Presents Cocktails and Conversations. I'm Marsha Williams Cromer, and thank you so much for joining us. My guest today is my longtime friend and sister, Jennifer Tull. Welcome to the show, Jennifer. How are you?
I'm doing so good, it ought to be illegal.
Well, I'm low key hating right now because your backdrop is like stupid Costa Rica vibes right now.
Yes, ma'am. I
Don't
am
you just
in.
love it?
I love it. It has been a great move for us. And my husband is in his happy place. The best thing about it is how happy he is here.
Oh, nice.
But it's a lovely place, and I have enjoyed being here the last couple months.
So tell me the genesis of the Costa Rica vibe.
Well, you know my husband John. He's an artist, and he does plant portraits,
Uh-huh.
giant plant portraits. And so he was looking sort of since the first Trump administration was sort of looking at, where we might want to go. And he found this place, which is on the South Pacific side of Costa Rica. And it's about 2 hours north of Panama.
Hmm.
And it's where the ocean meets the mountains.
Beautiful.
And so you can get out of the heat and go up into the mountains for a little while if that's your jam.
Yeah.
But it's just the most gorgeous place I've ever seen. And so yeah, we just decided we were going to come check it out, and we fell in love with it.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad for you. And that's kind of how I feel about me and my France. It's like, you find that place that resonates and you're just, no matter what the day gives you in terms of weather or whatever, you're just happy to be there, right?
Exactly. And it's raining a lot here now. Uh, and but it's every day is just a new day, and it's beautiful, and the cloud formations they're just amazing.
And I love that you have that spirit about you where you actually see what you see. You know how we go through life and everything kind of gets normalized.
Yes.
It's never lost on me that I'm like walking distance from the Seine River, and I get to that's how I do my morning walk. I walk from here, from Honfleur across the river to Le Havre, and that's kind of my morning routine. Get some
Oh my.
exercise because I'm eating like a pig over here.
Well, when in France, do
Yes,
like the
yes.
French.
And the meals are smaller. That helps. All right. They
Exactly.
don't do the big overflowing plates of food. But I figure since I walk most places, it gives me a little bit of freedom to eat some good food as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's talk about the Jennifer Marcia story. How we
Okay.
met in sixth grade. Oh my goodness, Jennifer.
We're
Okay.
probably we're probably the tallest and the shortest girl in our class. Is that true?
Of course, of
It has
course.
to be. I
Tell
do have a great I do
the
have a great picture of us that I should have made handy uh, from our high school reunion. It's a great picture. I'll send it to you.
Okay, okay. I just think we kind of connected initially because both of us were truly in love with any kind of art. I think that's where it started. You love music, I love music, and I love the music that you loved, and
Right.
you would listen to the music that I loved. So we initially found common ground there. Growing up in, South Texas, Southeast Texas, in a small town. And I guess it's fair to say a small town, in some ways small minded. I do find that Huntsville is still it's my core. It's at the core of really who I am. And the older I get, the more I feel like I just need some peace. And Huntsville
Hmm.
was that town, which made it a great town to grow up in as a kid.
It did, and I couldn't wait to get out of there.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
but now at this age, I'm really learning about the beauty of a small town.
It's
It's a small
beautiful.
community here of expats, and you have somebody looking out for you.
That's right.
And yeah, I mean, there's a downside too. Maybe they're all up in your business, but but it's somebody that you can call if you need something. And I'm not sure I ever felt that way about any of my neighbors in
Oh, wow.
Austin.
Wow. Yeah, but I think you have a kinship that happens when, I've met people here in France who are expats, and we just gravitate to each other. Even though we love the French world and life, it's something about meeting somebody from Arizona.
Hmm.
And they're
I
like,
get it.
so you're immediately friends. You have that in common. It's not that you would want in your life different. It's just, it's like finding family.
Yeah, I would agree. And there's about half of the expats here are English speaking, and about half are from Europe.
Okay.
So it's a really interesting mix of people and such a melting pot. It's really great.
So let's talk about those high school, junior high, high school years where somehow we navigated in some awkward situations. Me again, being the tall girl in school and like the tall girl everywhere, basically.
Right, right.
My whole family was tall, so it's not like I felt, uncomfortable with my height, other than probably whenever I had to be in front of people, and I think because of I always kind of lean into my fears. And
Hmm.
because I was uncomfortable with it, I just kept doing it enough that I got more and more comfortable with it. I wouldn't say that I'm 100% there that, oh, I can't wait to, do this public speaking engagement. But, I've got my tools. I've got my tools that calm
Right.
me down. And, I realize if you're the one standing in front, they're definitely going to be looking at you. Um,
Hmm.
Walk into assembly late, that was like, oh my God, that was death for me. And I wore a lot of black because I didn't want people to see me. I didn't want to be noticed. Please, how are you going to miss a 6 foot tall person? I don't care what you're wearing.
My stepdaughters are both almost 6 feet tall.
Mm,
And so I'm in a family of tall people here. It's Aubrey and me, and then everybody else is giant. So,
right, right.
so yeah, I know. I live the high life through them.
Okay, okay. So those years though, what was that like for you? I know being someone that's a little different, leaning toward art, art, arts and things that are creative. What was that like for you on your side of the fence?
You know, uh, the first thing that comes to my mind is kind of lonely.
Mm,
But it's like I did feel like a misfit. And order to sort of compensate for that, I tried to fit in with everybody. And I
mm,
did a pretty good job of
right.
fitting in with everybody. But I always kind of secretly wanted to be like the sophisticated one.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
really wanted to be the one who knew more than everybody else and could
right.
could be
Okay.
the one telling everybody what a French kiss was.
Oh goodness. Too funny. And I know you were so smart forever, reading about everything and just plus your parents were educators and they just, introduced you guys to the world.
Yeah, and I don't know that I appreciated it at the time, but my parents were very progressive.
Right,
In
right.
fact, junior high graduation, must have been eighth grade graduation, somebody got together and they invited all the white kids to a graduation party.
Mm.
And we just said, we're not going. And so me and Art Griffin and several
Oh.
other people they took us to some club. It was
Mm.
great. They said, we'll take you to dance. And so they took us to some club. I don't even know where it was, but that was our
Hinsdale.
protest against.
Hinsdale.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you and Art and some of the other guys decided to, in protest, did you leave or what?
No, we just didn't go.
Oh,
We
okay.
just we
Okay.
just didn't show up, and we went and had our party elsewhere.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yeah.
That's some good solidarity, girl. That's me and you from back in the day. I always knew you were one of the cool people.
Yeah, yeah. I was really good at hiding it, but yeah, I
Well,
was.
think about all the years that it's going to probably surprise people that we have known each other since sixth grade and we've been friends that whole time. And
That is
we
true.
didn't see each other for a couple years or more or whatever. Pick up the phone, place a call, and it's like nothing changed. Nothing that we just get caught up on whatever has happened in the meanwhile. But
You know, I think that's because both of us are pretty authentic.
yeah, oh,
I
totally.
know you are. So,
Yeah,
I think it's
right.
just that we don't change that much, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
kind of what you see is what you get. And except for, not now I have blonde hair. So
Yeah, instead of that brunette hair from
we
back in
don't know what color my real hair is.
right, and that's okay. It looks beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
So I remember even we were at college together, and you were kind of one of those the friends that I could reach out to from back home, and we'd go and hang out, go to movie or whatever we wanted to do.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, and eat good food. We'd cook and stuff. It was
Yes.
great.
It was great. I can't remember. I had a flashback to go into a movie with you, and what it could it have possibly been, the Muppet movie?
So we did see that one, and we both
Okay.
laughed so crazy. It was like I was exhausted. But we also saw Ordinary People
Oh
to
my God, that was my second choice, and I think I must have boohooed for a week after
we
that.
both and we were like almost shocked that we were so emotional at the same stuff, and it was the dynamics of the mom and the son and all of those things that you're actually kind of navigating at the time in your own family. uh,
Exactly.
in my teenage years, I just thought my mom was so mean. She was just always telling me, no, do it this way, or think this way, or think, just think. But her goal was that I would be self-sufficient.
Hmm.
And I realized that. And I remember the day that I decided she really is kind of a badass. Okay. Why am
Hmm.
I, uh, antagonistic with someone that I actually admire? And I decided I want a good relationship with my mama. So she just became my best girl and
Yeah.
hilarious. Once we were friends, I know where I get my crazy from because she could have actually been a stand-up comic. So funny, so
So,
funny.
so we share that too, because my mother is hilarious. And in our family, whenever anybody does something really stupid, it's called doing a full Charlotte.
Okay, I love that. I love it. In fact, I
She's
know at my
go.
mom's funeral service, one of her really good friends, you remember Miss Owens, Miss Hattie Owens?
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Okay, they were really, really good friends. So she spoke at mom's service and had everybody in stitches about the fact that mom was like, she would tell a joke and, or what's that saying, throw a rock and hide her hand.
Hmm.
Everybody else gets caught and, laughing about something. And my mom's just like, all cool and chill and everything. She was wonderful. And, we've gone through so much in life,
Hmm.
losing parents, losing siblings. Um, where are you now? Where are you now in terms of, I know as we grow, we find you don't ever lose that pain. You just figure out a way to adjust and adapt to putting one foot in front of the other until one day you wake up and you're like, okay, I laughed. Wait a minute, this may be some healing happening here. Um,
Right.
I did allow myself, and I still do, to grieve. I don't
Hmm.
have a problem, and I'm that ugly crier in the church. I'm that girl. Oh yeah, I'm that girl. And everybody's like, okay, you stand close enough so if she does go off, we can kind of shut it down. But
Hmm.
they also understand I love hard. That's why it hurts. And if whatever I'm going through, I'm not delaying that feeling. It's got to come through. It's going to come through sooner or later. I just kind of go head on with it. How about you?
Well, so do you know who Jane Seabury is? She's a singer.
No.
Okay. Well, you probably wouldn't. Because she's kind of a little bit alt, but she has a song called Calling All Angels, which you may know about.
Okay.
And in it, she says, if you could, would you trade all the pain and suffering you have for not having lived?
That's it. That's
And
it.
I'm going to start crying.
Oh,
And then she says, ah, but then you'd miss the beauty of the light upon the earth
that's it. That's it.
and the sweetness of the leaving.
Mm, you know,
That
those
sort of sums it up.
no, it's perfect. It's perfect. And I always remember that feeling of loss initially, and then my love of the world, my love of God says, what you had them though. You the loss you're feeling is the loss of who you are with them.
Right.
Now it's
Right.
your job to keep them present because of that, the importance of that relationship. So I literally talk about my people in the present. My grandma
Hmm.
calls them, it's just like we're having a conversation. But that's my way to keep them and their memory alive, not just for me, but for everybody. Everybody needs to know Nana.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I think that, I saw this meme on somewhere recently, and there were these two fetuses that were talking, and they're saying to each other, do you think there's life after birth? And they would go, well, I don't know. How are we going to eat? Uh,
Exactly,
and the other one goes, well,
exactly.
maybe through our mouths. They go, oh, we would never do that. This is where it all comes in. And it's not a very long cord. We're not going very far. And they were just all upset
That's
about it. Well, don't you
hilarious.
know that that's what it's like? And here we are doing the exact same thing
Exactly.
about the next step. And we don't know if it's the last step.
Let me ask you a question. I know 20-year-old Jennifer, and I know Jennifer in 2025. What are the major differences between my friend at 20 and my friend in 2025?
They are huge.
I know.
And so when I was about 35 or something like that. So when I was 35, my dad died. That
Hmm.
was 1994.
Hmm.
And the year after that, um, one of my clients got invited to go to the Grand Canyon on a river rafting trip with this guy that she had just met. And
Hmm.
she didn't want to go with him by herself. And so she invited me and some other girls to go with them. And I'm telling you that when I grew up, we did not go camping, right?
Right,
We went
right,
to Europe.
right.
Uh, we went to concerts. We were not in the great outdoors. So we got there, and first of all, the Grand Canyon is just breathtakingly
It
beautiful.
is.
So
It
we
is.
were going to the bottom to get in, and I was just looking around and I just burst into tears. And you know how when you go on vacation or just get out of your everyday, like the colors are brighter and
Right.
the sounds are more beautiful and everything is more vivid in your life. So that I had that experience. So we put our boats in, we stopped to camp for the first night, and there was this beautiful waterfall, just like a waterfall stream coming down
Mhm.
the mountain. And so the next day we got up and we walked up to where it was coming through the top of the cave. And so everyone else just sort of jumped up and climbed up this wall to the top where they could go out the top of the cave. And so I'm like, okay. So I start up, I get about 10 feet up and I fell. And I landed on my feet, but my ankle was turned under. And so here I am with these
Ugh.
people that I barely know, and all this attention is on me, right? But I'm going to tell you that it was their pleasure to take care of me for that trip,
Mm.
and they didn't make me feel bad about it. They didn't make me feel guilty. It was literally they had fun doing it too, and to me that changed everything. It felt like I had this cauldron boiling inside me with all these feelings that I'd had all my life. Had just been stuffed in there, and this experience blew the top off of all that.
I love.
And so I was very disoriented by that. I say, when I tell the story, I say I went in there a well put together person in a nice dress, and I came out like a ball of glop
Oh,
because
wow.
I was having all these emotions that were very young, right?
Right,
This is
right.
a 2-year-old's anger, and this is a whatever. So it took me a while to sort through all of that. But I really came away from that with this idea that not everybody gets that experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Not everybody gets that wake up or, aha moment. And it was sort of my sacred duty to do something with it.
I love that.
And it was right after that that I started the divorce recovery retreats for women, which
Mhm.
I did in my spare time. Which and honestly, that's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. It really
Wow.
was. And if I could recreate that and figure out a way that it wouldn't make me go broke, then
Right,
I would definitely do it again in
right,
a heartbeat.
right.
So that was the
And,
first thing. Yeah.
and it's that point that you can actually pinpoint when you know you changed for the better. Um, I remember being at about that age, had been married, had been divorced already, and I somehow felt like I wasn't measuring up, like I needed to be at a better place, a higher place. I can't even like identify exactly in words where that would be, but I wasn't there.
Hmm.
And then I also remember the day that it occurred to me that I'm asking to be part of something that I was born into. There's a power in realizing nobody can stop you, nobody can turn you away or tell you you can't participate. You were born for this, right?
Yeah.
Girl, please. And I'm telling you, the height, all of it just started to come into play. I'm like, that's why I'm tall, because everybody needs to see this, right?
Exactly.
I
100%.
love that moment. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. So that was the first thing.
Hmm.
And then when I taught the divorce recovery retreat for 11 years, and what I was really doing was healing myself
Yeah,
from
yeah,
my own divorce and from just some unbeneficial beliefs that had been instilled in me from some time we don't know when.
right, right.
Um, but but that was a huge thing for me, is for me to identify my unbeneficial core belief and really say goodbye to it,
Yeah.
because it was holding me back, most
So,
definitely.
so as in terms of the how the world is now and how it was when we were growing up and being nurtured, it's scary to me. It's just scary to me, man. I'm like, wow, I can't imagine not ever disconnecting. I
I
can't
know.
imagine being outside in at marching band for in the freaking heat of Texas and thinking this is probably the coolest thing that you could be doing right now. You're literally working and fighting to get in and stay in.
Yeah.
And we did a whole summer at times without being in front of the TV or in
Right.
front of a screen.
Honey, we
Um,
didn't even have a color TV when I was growing up. We
wow.
didn't have cable either, so it wasn't much to watch, but
Right,
it just
right.
wasn't a big part of our lives, the
It's
whole
so
screen
funny.
thing.
I remember the summer, and this definitely dates us, of Watergate.
Oh, me too. I remember it so
And I
well.
tell you, I was actually thrilled because the soap operas didn't come on. And that was like my mama's jam was the guided light at General Hospital and stuff. And I hated it. And so
Yeah,
because of how tuned in they've always been about history, that was required watching. We didn't have options. So only what, two or three TV channels. But now it's almost like one of those things that I study. I'm like this Watergate, spy. I love all the history about it. It's an intriguing story. So much of what was going on in Huntsville, even at the time, kind of got put on a back burner because in a world where there weren't a lot of different places to split your attention,
Mm-hmm.
everybody was talking about it. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
it was the main thing going on. And now it's difficult to keep somebody's attention for 8 seconds. So,
Well, let's don't leave Watergate behind,
yeah.
because the things that Richard Nixon got kicked out for are like chump change
Girl,
today.
girl,
I
please.
mean,
No,
like,
no, no,
please bring
no.
me back some people stealing tapes, or
But
whatever they did.
and then the comedy of it where the security guard is like seeing tape on the door, and it's just like you know a baby could have found their way through a better crime.
Exactly. Exactly.
but but
Yeah.
now it's like we can see everything and we see nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see
Apparently.
nothing. So
John and I were talking about this morning. It's like, don't you know that Gary Hart is now going, damn it.
yeah.
All she did was sit on my lap on a boat called Monkey Business. And now, and now look what he's doing. And he gets away with all of it.
I know. uh, my next question is, so we bonded over music, life, friendship, everything, college. We've been friends for all of those different generations and times, but our music brought us back together most recently when we got a chance to well, we tried to go to see Elton and COVID shut us down. 2 years literally it took for us to get that trip back on the
Yes,
books. Was that not the most amazing time ever?
it, it was. It
I'm
absolutely
telling you,
was.
girl. I found that I've asked other people, like, everybody, come on, let's go. And you were the one that said, "Are you serious? Are you really? Let's go!" Right? I'm telling you, you know how I feel about Elton. I was like a little girl, and to share that with you was so
Yeah.
huge. We just had the best time. The food was amazing, but of all the places that we could have seen it, we chose to see it at Madison Square Garden because we just grown like that.
That's right. That's how we roll.
Yes, it was just too fun.
So have you seen anything in the Sphere yet in Las Vegas?
No.
Okay, I haven't either, but let's do that next.
Okay.
I
And
hear it is a majorly wonderful experience just to go in that place.
so I have a friend who wants to see Beyonce, so that may be the first thing I see there. Um,
Okay.
but I would love to see the Eagles, girl. I would love to
Yeah.
see the Eagles. I love them. It's just,
And
and
they were there. They were
I
at the
know.
Sphere
Are they
not that
weren't they
long
in
ago.
residency for a while?
Oh, were they? I don't
I think
know.
so. Yeah, I think so. But we'll figure out what's going to be there soon that both of us want to see, and we'll hook it up.
Yeah, what the last thing I've been talking about in Las Vegas was getting all our girls together and taking them to see the Backstreet Boys. 'Cause
Ah,
that's what we did when they were 10. So
I love that. I love that. Okay, random question.
yes.
What is something that you're proud that you've forgiven yourself for?
Ah, so that opens a whole can of worms here, because I have been doing this process of self-forgiveness recently.
Oh, wonderful.
And that's a whole other rabbit trail. But um, so I have adopted this sort of procedure, or whatever you want to call. That's not a very good word for it. It's kind of clinical, but ritual. There we go. A ritual for self-forgiveness that has worked wonderfully for me. And it's not just for self, it's for forgiving anybody.
Right.
Um, but what I've been doing lately is realizing that there are patterns that I can see in my past. There
Mhm.
were, there were all these times when I acted like a smarty pants,
Right.
and that's not a good look at all. But I've done it my whole life, and I did it not that long ago. So I like bundled all those things up together, and really looked at how being a smarty pants was something that I did, and how unhappy that it had made me, and you know, so I bundled it all up together and did this ritual of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you do that is you envision yourself in that situation or someone else, and you just envelop them in white light in your mind, and you then go and hug them
Mm-hmm.
in your mind. And this,
Mm-hmm.
none of this involves anybody else,
Right.
obviously.
Right.
And you say to them, I love you and I forgive you totally and completely without reservation. And you keep saying that over and over to them until they hug you back. So this is the prior you or someone else you're trying to do forgiveness with.
Right.
And so once they hug you back, then you've sort of completed that little ritual, and you release them into their own space and to their own life and beauty.
I love
So
it.
that's what I've been doing, and so I did smarty pants the other day, which was kind of hard for me to let go of. Um, and then then there were times when I didn't treat myself as respectfully
Mhm.
as I should have, and a lot of that had to do with boys and
Mhm.
men.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I kind of went back and bundled all those up together. It's quite a lot,
Yeah.
and forgave myself for all of that.
Yeah.
And you know what happened is that it pretty much disappeared. It's like if I really thought about it, I could conjure those memories up again, but why?
They don't serve you. They
They
don't
do
serve you.
not.
No.
They do not.
Mm. I think the thing that I didn't realize, but know now after years of it dealing with that, and it's been quite some time that I think I have been healed from it, is forgiving myself for just being a fat kid, just
Oh my God, let's go there.
oh my Lord, just, allowing myself to, I had the best parents and I just love them so much for never making me feel like a fat kid, and
Oh yeah,
I was a fat kid.
that's where
And
we differ,
oh,
because I
girl.
did.
No, I don't know. I feel like on some level, all of my aunts being, we're all big people, right?
Yeah,
So to make you feel bad or mock you for something that they probably found challenges at some point in their lives as well, they would never do that. But by the time I got to my early 20s and, school is about to wrap up, I just remember feeling like I was allowing my childhood to go too long. That's
hmm.
kind of how I looked at it. And I thought, you know, you don't just get to eat whatever the hell you want. I mean?
You're special.
No, I mean, how much candy can one person consume in a day? And it was just that kind of stuff. It was
Yeah,
unhealthy, all of it. And I didn't grow up as a little kid that way. We always ate healthy. But once I was out and could, go by Sonic or some, drive through or whatever, it was, everything was there for the taking.
yeah,
But I did battle myself with that emotionally. And I really remember when I decided myself, I've got this because I'd lost weight and gained it back and lost weight,
yes.
gained it back.
Hmm.
And then I just decided, let's just focus on being healthy. But once I did and I started to lose the weight, the guilt was still there.
Yeah.
I felt like I allowed myself to miss out on something that, skinny young kids get to do or whatever. I don't know.
I
But
call them the cheerleaders.
okay.
Am I right?
Yeah, we hate them. Okay, that's for you
Yes.
too, Pamela Williams, when you hear this show.
Yes, yes, ma'am. That's for you, Pam Williams.
But yeah, and I think it's amazing that very few of my real friends ever like made me feel any type of way. I felt totally accepted by them. It was all my stuff. And when
Oh
I was
yeah.
able to forgive myself and say, you know what, you're bad. Let's just agree that we didn't know any better and move forward. And I'm really, even to this day, very conscientious of my diet, what I eat, how I exercise, just trying to be healthy because I am not ready to stop.
I am not ready.
Oh my
But,
God,
but
this
I
is
have to
a
tell
good
you this,
time.
I know, growing up as a fat kid was horrible. And my mom was embarrassed of me,
Oh,
and she did not hesitate to let me know that.
mm,
And I realize now that she had my best interest in
she
mind. She
did.
wanted me to be happy. She didn't want me to be teased, and I
Right,
was, and
right,
bullied, and I was. But she absolutely did not know how to relate,
right.
right? She's tall and skinny, and
Yeah,
and
that
she
wasn't
just
her story. Yeah.
it was not her story. But here's a good story. Um, Not that long ago, say within the last 10 years, a group of my friends from Austin went to my grandmother's house in deep East Texas with me. And they had a pre-Civil War plantation, this whole thing.
Okay.
And it's, and it was decked out with antiques, and it was kind of a cool place to go. So we got there, and my mom had gone there before us and taken every picture of me, fat me, down off the walls. And
Oh,
it took,
wow.
it hurt my feelings
Of
to
course.
start with. But then again, I went back, well, she was trying to protect
Of
me.
course. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but like I said, she just didn't get it.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think Byrne did because my mom was, a big woman, but she always looked like nice and had, a good weight, the size and all that. But she would engage me. So during the summers, that's when I could lose some weight because we would walk 5, 6, 7 miles a day. Okay. That
mhm.
was her thing. She loved it. And I actually, as I look back on those times, best times to hang out with my mama, because I'm telling you, the lady was crazy. She was a riot. She could find comedy in the craziest of things. So I'm literally kind of becoming her because I admired her so much. I just thought she was beautiful. She dressed amazing, and I wanted to get to that place. And I never felt like as a chubby kid I could be there.
Right.
But she never, and I will say for my family in general, I just never really felt that kind of pressure. At school, there might have been some kids that said nasty stuff, but I had, great friends, and my friends were really my friends. They weren't just people who were saying, oh, yeah, we're friends, and then dogging me out behind my back or anything.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that was a big one to forgive myself for. And once I did, it was so freeing. I felt emotionally lighter. And I
Yes.
try to remember that feeling so that even if I go out and I'm like, great meal and I eat too much, I try to focus on the lightness that I feel in general. It's just a
Hmm.
meal. Don't overthink it, right?
Right.
But
Right.
and these are things that folks who maybe didn't have to deal with that would think, oh well, no, you were fine, you were cool. But that's my stuff. I'm not
Yeah.
blaming anybody. My parents didn't put anything on me or any of that. That was the weight that I carried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in my bedroom here, just by happenstance, one of the mirrors is leans out, and so it takes about 10 pounds off of you. And the other one, it leans the other way, so it puts about 10 pounds on you. So I never really know. My body dysmorphia just lives somewhere in the middle of that, and
Right.
it's all good now. I agree though. That's a big one to get over. Well,
Well, and nowadays, my only test is when I go for my annual checkup and I'm waiting for the results just to make sure I don't have some crazy chronic nonsense going on. And as soon as they say, okay, you're free to go, I'm like, are you sure? The last time they said nothing's wrong. I mean, we don't see anything elevated. You're perfect. You're wonderful. I'm like, no, you're gonna have to send me those papers because I'm leaving the country. And I need to make sure that what you're telling me is the truth. It's the real deal. So yeah,
Right.
like I said, staying healthy on purpose. And
Hmm.
what's the point of being in a fabulous place and location that you never visited and you can't really navigate the way you want to, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've been at this weight that I really like for a couple of years now. But right before I did that, and this was one of the things that really motivated me, we were here in Costa Rica and we went and took a tour through this huge biodiverse national forest called Corcovado. We went down there and I had a lot of trouble navigating that hike. I fell
Mm.
several times, like not just like, slip, but fell where my glasses fell off and the whole thing. And couldn't catch my breath and all this stuff. And I went at the end of that, I'm like, I am not this fucking old, you know,
Oh, that's right.
I am not
Absolutely.
that old. Uh,
Absolutely.
so yeah, so
And you
that
know
was my
what?
kind of my wake up call.
And I find like yoga is wonderful for stability and strength and all of that. And it's one of those exercises that I won't say I look forward to it, but I see the results. And so I know, okay, and I don't hate it. It's still exercise, and at the end of it, I'm sweating profusely and looking crazy. But I found something that I can do on a regular basis that I
Hmm.
actually see the benefits of on a big scale, right? Last question for you, my love, is about legacy. Talk to me
Uh,
about what legacy means to you, your legacy, and with your life, your own life.
I don't think I'm there yet. I haven't
Mm,
created I haven't finished whatever it's
mm,
going to be.
mhm,
I feel
mhm,
like there is something coming. I don't exactly know what it is.
mhm.
But if I had to choose, I would say that I would want people to say about me after I'm gone. She looked at everything kind of cockeyed. She, she was never satisfied with how things worked
Right, right.
and was always wanting to do something new and different and creative. And I invite a lot of people to look at things cockeyed
Oh, I
because I
love
think it
that.
kind of worked for me.
I love that. And I love that about you. And that's so true about the person, Jennifer, that I know. I would say for myself, probably now, and I feel like I've got a lot of life ahead of me and I'm looking forward to it. My goal, though, is to always leave a room better than I found it. Always. And I've gone literally in hospital rooms to visit friends, and I remember showing up and the conversation just going down a rabbit hole. If you could be mad at somebody, she was mad at them, and she's just like arguing and fighting herself, and I'm like, so now that you've got that out of your system,
Yeah.
let me tell you about this book I'm writing. And, I just completely lifted it from a low vibration to a higher vibration where we're talking
Right.
about creating things. And I remember walking out of my friend's room and I looked back at her and I said, I left this room better than I found it. That's my
Hmm.
goal, always,
Yeah.
always. I love you so, so much.
And we didn't talk about your books at all.
You know
That didn't
what? The
seem
Rancher
right.
Stilettos and now the Rancher before Stilettos. So, they've had kind of a change, a repurposing because I'm positioning them as, the series so they look and feel like a series.
Right.
But that's my COVID baby. I started, in 2020, and you are one of those people that always you like raise your hand to say, you go, girl. I am
For
just
sure.
like so, so grateful for that. That encouragement means the world to me, Jennifer.
Well, I'm here. I'm here and I'm doing it every day, whether you hear it or not.
I
I am
love you.
cheering you on. I
Thank
love
you.
you too.
Same here. And I'm coming to Costa Rica. Okay, I'm coming.
Okay.
I'll let you know. You'll have to. We'll arrange a good time for everybody. So
Bienvenidos.
I know I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you. We got to have a toast out.
All right.
I
I
love
don't have a
you.
fancy glass. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, hey, that's the beauty of us being able to always be who we are or who we want to be, right?
That's right. All
Hmm.
right. There we go.
I love you, and we'll
Love
talk
you too.
soon.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for watching the show. And please don't forget to subscribe and like. And remember, we may not always get the happy ending, but we make our endings happy.